What does loneliness feel like? Is it silence? Or is it being in a crowd and feeling ignored and unseen? Is it feeling disconnected from the world? For me, loneliness has often felt like I was in a crowd of people, but unconnected to them, and that they were doing things and saying things that seemed even foreign to me, because as a shy person, I felt I didn't fit in. Maybe it's also feeling that you have no purpose, that there isn't a meaning to your life. I don't think there's one answer to how loneliness feels. But it is of interest to me that we apparently have a loneliness epidemic in a period of time when we are supposedly more connected than ever. So how is that working? Isn't that a paradox? First of all, I'm not here to judge. I don't know all the answers. I just am sharing my thoughts and perspective with you in the hope that it'll start a dialogue. But one of the things that I think is truly happening is that in all our connectivity that is part of our lives now, it actually disconnects us from ourselves. Right? So we are in this state of frenetic energy all day. And it stays with us, which is why we have difficulty sleeping. The information overload is real. For example, I have a Facebook account, and when I first started it, I joined I don't know how many groups, and I've got, well over 700 friends. But I go there perhaps once a week, usually to post something. I very seldom go and look at any of those groups, but the job of disentangling myself from all of that is just too overwhelming. So I don't Facebook. I don't Twitter, or X as they call it now. I really don't use a lot of those apps. I have Discord and I have Zoom, and I have those for reasons, to do with the people that I work with or volunteer with, so that I can be connected to them. And with my new phone, the Google Pixel, one of the reasons I chose it is that it comes without a lot of added applications, which was really important to me, because otherwise I would sit there having to remove them all. So, in a way, all this information overload is noise, right? It's noise. And where do we find ourselves in the midst of this noise that is so overwhelming, and this cacophony that is never ending, 24/7, 7 days a week, We have to deliberately and consciously disconnect from it in order to find space for ourselves. Social media creates an illusion. It tells us that we're connected, but in reality, we're not. And in many cases, it's just like the news and politics and things like that. It's structured in such a way that the unhappiest things and the most negative things and the most alarming things are front and center. Social media is something we consume, and it's like so weighty. It takes over our lives so that we have no space to breathe or to think or to be ourselves. So what I'm saying is, if there is an epidemic of loneliness, the cause is the so-called connection that technology provides. Because that connection is about feeding us a message. So it goes back to being mindful, right? If we really want to feel less lonely, what we need to look for is authentic connection. And when I say authentic, I mean face-to-face, real connection, right? Not through a screen. And that may be hard to do sometimes, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't use technology, FaceTime, Zoom, and things like that, to connect with friends and family and take classes and things like that. But I am saying that we do need to disconnect from it sometimes, and we need to go for a walk without the phone and without the headphones. We need to be out in nature and be there and be present and be experiencing the present moment. And we need to, when we're with someone in the real world, we need to make sure that we have the phone turned off, away in our backpack or briefcase or whatever, so that we're actually listening to and giving our energy to the person that we're with. Without that real connection of saying hello, how are you, to the person that's serving you coffee, and sitting down to have a chat with someone you know, with the phone put away so that you can really listen and connect to each other. Without these authentic things, we're going to feel lonely, because in a sense, right now, I'm just talking to a camera. And at some point, maybe somebody will be watching this, and there is a connection there. Yet still, is that enough? So my suggestion is to start with the self, right? Because we only have so much control over the external. But one of the things we can do is make sure that we take time every day to be silent, to turn off the noise, to turn off the computer, the TV, the iPhone, the iPad, take off the headphones, and sit quietly, looking at the walls or looking out the window, or maybe going for a walk in nature and listening to the birds sing, feeling the sun on our face or the rain on our hair, actually being alive and in the moment without all the distractions, because those distractions create the frenetic energy which permeates our society and which develops us into these crazed, fanatic individuals who are arguing on the internet and not taking the space and the time to think critically about the information being received, and asking what the source is and what the purpose of that information is. Many things are out there that are created to inflame us, to make us angry, to make us fearful. Well, we have a choice. We don't have to do that. We can sit back, we can turn off all the technology and work on connecting back to ourselves and back to other people in a more authentic way. So it starts very simply by turning things off and working to be in the present moment. And there's a number of ways that you can do that, and a lot of them are free. It doesn't cost anything to go for a walk. But having these moments that are with yourself, that are in silence, this would be a balm to the soul. Okay? And how can we connect with each other if we're not first connected to ourselves? So in this state of contentedness with the self, the contentedness with silence, and with a sense of ease, that maybe then we will have more positive energy going out into the world. And we can then connect with other people in an authentic manner. Then the next step is to maybe make an intentional choice to take up an activity or join a group or find some kind of community that feeds an interest of yours. Take a cooking class, and take a class in watercolor, go down to the community center and join the ukulele class, that kind of thing where you deliberately and consciously decide to take action. And yes, it takes some time. And maybe you think, I don't have time to do that. But if you turn off the TV and you turn off the computer, maybe then we find, well, there's some time left over now. And the other thing is sleep. It's very, very hard to sleep because we are, in this rat race full of frenetic energy, and then we get to bedtime and the mind is racing, and to slow it down and quiet it to the point where we can actually sleep, or maybe even sleep through the night without waking up and having all these thoughts that just go round and round and round in your brain. This is very much connected to the idea of loneliness. It's very hard to cope with your emotions and very hard to cope with the world if we're not sleeping enough. And generally speaking, there's also an epidemic of sleeplessness and insomnia out there. So maybe they're connected. I think also it's very true that we are going to feel lonely from time to time, no matter what we do. We're going to miss people who are gone from our lives, people who have passed away, people who have moved on. And I think we have to kind of accept that those feelings are going to occur. Not every day is going to be happy, and not every thought is going to be positive. I highly recommend journaling because it's really a great way to get through some of the noise and get into the nuts and bolts of what might be going on for you. And it's not like you need to share that writing with anyone else, but it's a way of knowing what's on your mind and seeing what things you repeat over and over again. So basically what I'm saying, if you're feeling lonely, I think it's very natural, first of all, for us to feel lonely. We shouldn't feel guilty about that. We should understand that loneliness is sometimes something we cannot avoid. Sadness, grief, those kinds of things cannot be avoided. They are part of life. At the same time, maybe there are some things we can do to help lift us a little. And that's why I've made this video, and I hope that it helps in some way. We don't have to be defined by our loneliness. I think that by slowing down and by being mindful of what we're doing and making steps to reconnect in a person-to-person, be here now kind of way, then maybe we can find a source of deeper connection and sometimes feel a little less lonely. The truth is, in a sense, if you're watching this along with other people who are watching this, then we can all say to each other, you know what, you're not alone. I feel that way too. And I think in some way that helps a little bit. You're not strange, you're not odd, you're human, and we all feel this way. And I think it's very true to say that you matter. Your life, who you are, and what you do, you matter. And that's my thought for today. Take care out there. See you soon.